What's going on, everybody? Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. FEMA directors are being fired for violating federal law. Missouri sues China over their nonsense COVID policies as we enter year 5 of COVID. We're coming up on year 5 of COVID very, very, very soon. Also, Scott Jennings continues to make Democrats look absolutely ridiculous. Ayanna Pressley runs away from Nick Sorter in the middle of the street because she's too afraid to answer questions. Guys, Democrats are in absolute free fall. And this is what happens when you don't have a leader. This is what happens when people are too afraid to stand on their own 2 feet. Right now, Democrats are losing, and they are losing in a very, very big way. And because they have no leadership, because there is nobody at the top steering the ship, they are going to continue to beclown themselves in public. And right now, they're doing it. They're doing it in a big way. Elon Musk is breaking them. Elon Musk is absolutely breaking them. Before we get started today, guys, hit the thumbs up button. Share this video out all over the place, wherever it is you may be watching from. Wherever it is you may be watching from. What's up, Conservative Autumn? As always, Alex Ann is watching this show from Aruba. Okay, Alex, you win. You win. Watching from Aruba. Have a drink. Is it too early for that? It's never too early for that. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest. If you're watching on Facebook, guys, hit the like button. Share the video out wherever it is you may be watching. Make sure you are following the page, as LFA TV is under 300 subscribers, 300 followers short of 100,000. Boom. I like benchmarks. I like benchmarks. Giddy up. Let's go. Make sure you guys are hitting the thumbs up button. Share it out. Let's go. Tell all your friends to come on over to LFA TV, the best damn political news anywhere. Period. Anywhere. Period. So, Democrats continue to lose their ever-loving minds. And they're doing it because there's no one dictating things from the top. The leadership of the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they're out. They cannot keep their most radical bunch in line. And because of that, the younger Democrats, the squad members, the Ayanna Presleys and the AOCs and the Jasmine Crockett's of the world continue to beclown themselves, all while Elon Musk is continuing to expose government fraud. Now, there has been a lot of stuff going on with these federal judges doing everything they possibly can to block Donald Trump and Elon Musk from doing what they told the American people they were going to do. We knew they were going to do this. We wanted them to do this. Yet Democrats continue to stop them in every possible way. A federal judge has now blocked Elon Musk from accessing Treasury. He has apparently a federal judge has said that Donald Trump must put the LGBTQ nonsense back on certain websites. Normally I would say you shouldn't ignore federal orders. But, you know, I got to tell you, I think I'm going to take the AOC model from a couple of years ago.
There has been thought, I believe, given to this. Senator Ron Wyden has already issued statements, for example, advising what we should do in a situation like this, which I concur, which is that I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. I think that the courts have the legitimacy and they rely on the legitimacy of their rulings. And what they are currently doing is engaged in an unprecedented and dramatic erosion of the legitimacy of the courts. It is the justices themselves, through the deeply partisan and unfounded nature of these rulings, that are undermining their own enforcement.
So you're saying the Biden administration should ignore this court, but what does that look like? What does that actually mean?
You know, I think the interesting thing when it comes to a ruling is that it relies on enforcement. And it is up to the Biden administration to enforce to choose whether or not to enforce such a ruling.
But is that
So AOC had absolutely no problem with Joe Biden ignoring federal law, ignoring a federal judge when it came to mifepristone, the abortion pill, because we all know Democrats will do anything they possibly can to make sure as many babies die in America as humanly possible. She had no problem with him ignoring a federal judge on that front. No problem whatsoever. Also, Joe Biden had no problem ignoring a federal judge when it came to his student loan forgiveness program that he was trying to buy votes with. Because let's be clear, that's exactly what the student loan forgiveness was. It was an attempt for Joe Biden to sit there and say, look, I'm just going to buy your vote. I'm going to pay off your student loans with the tax money of people who never went to college in the first place. Let's just pass that through. Let's just do it. As a matter of fact, Joe Biden took credit for doing that for up to 5 million lenders, or 5 million borrowers, I should say. Now, many of us at the time, including myself, said, wait a minute, Joe, not only did you ignore federal law, not only did you pay off the student loans of people who went to college with the money from people who didn't go to college, but you're also bailing out these giant institutions. You're giving them the money that they are waiting to be paid back. You're bailing out the banks. You're bailing out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You're bailing out the government-protected loans. And then you wonder why the cost of colleges don't go down when the government is backing some of these loans. But Democrats don't seem to care. Democrats don't seem to care. When they're in power, they can do whatever the hell they want. But now we got to hear all this bullshit about constitutional crisis. We got a constitutional crisis. Rah, raise your hands and yell. Every time Democrats say constitutional crisis, you guys should take a drink. You'd all be drunk in like 15 minutes. Because even though they don't have a plan in order, they certainly have their talking points in order. And once again, I know that this is being streamed on X, so any Democrat who wants to come on the show and tell me how that's different, you are more than welcome. Open invitation to any Democrat who thinks that they're in the middle of a constitutional crisis. It is more than welcome to come on this program and tell me why I'm wrong. No one will, because you're all cowards. No one will. Now, Scott Jennings over on CNN, he's got a bit of a different take on this, which is one I agree with, both for Republicans and Democrats. I find it very, very confusing how some random district court judge in the middle of nowhere can just stop the president of the United States from implementing the policies that he ran on. All that has to happen is one judge in America just has to say it, and it stops happening. Here is Scott Jennings.
Well, I think there's a difference between saying whether you're complying with the law and then you have these individual district court judges setting effectively broad federal policy that is specifically reserved for the president of the United States. I think we do have a constitutional crisis, and it's being caused by these judges. They're not here to tell us. They're not here to tell us how to spend the money. They're not here to set broad federal policy. That is the president's job as elected by the people. These judges are supposed to be settling discrete, specific matters, not policy setting. I think Vance is right. I think Trump has a point. And these judges want nothing more to continue the lawfare against
I don't
Trump.
think anybody's in the executive branch saying, no, I don't feel like it. And the courts say you have to.
Well, my answer to that simply is, it is the executive branch's job to figure out how to spend money once it is appropriated by Congress. And sometimes they spend money that's not been appropriated. But the correct political control is between the executive and the Congress, not some random federal judge.
Even there are not repercussions, you get away with it.
I get it. You want individual federal judges who hate Donald Trump.
No, I don't.
To tie him up for 4 years.
No, I don't.
If you want a big policy questions decided, let the Supreme Court do it. But in the interim, the executive has to be allowed to govern.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, you're supposed to comply, but Scott's absolutely right in that the court cannot say you have to spend these dollars today. So as a governor, I dealt with this. We got things challenged in state court and federal court. It's all judge-shopped, by the way. Judges don't randomly get these cases. There's a reason that these cases are filed in Boston, the Boston court, or a certain district, Rhode Island, because they know they're going to get a judge.
You raise the right point. Yeah. Should the president,
the
singular president, should he have to share the presidency with 300 district court judges? No, absolutely not.
But the point, though, you made a really good point that there have been judges that shut down some of President Biden's executive actions, and they understand
and the Biden administration understood
And he ignored
the
it.
checks and balances.
The Supreme
But
Court
not-
tried to stop me,
not
but they
in the-
never will.
But not
Who
in the
said
way
that?
that Donald
Who said
Trump
that?
is.
Who said
Not
that?
in the way that
Joe
Donald
Biden.
Yeah,
Joe
but
Biden.
Donald
Trump
Scott,
was-
he actually didn't ignore it.
He
That's
did.
right.
They continue
No,
to plow
no,
forward with
no,
student
he
aid. How
didn't.
much did
No,
they spend?
no,
But let me set the
Scott,
record
he
up.
He actually
didn't.
got dinged
didn't.
on
I
the student loan
hated
debt
the student
forgiveness.
Yeah.
loan forgiveness policy.
What did he say
Hold
out
on.
loud?
I thought
What
it
did
was.
he say
I
out
thought it
loud?
was a ridiculous
didn't
policy.
ignore it.
I thought it was unconstitutional. I predicted it would get struck down. It did get struck down, and I
He didn't
applauded.
ignore it.
He did not ignore it, though. He went and tried under a different law.
So he ignored
You're
it.
allowed. No,
That's
that's
not ignoring it. That
So
is
he
trying
it's not
to
ignoring
be
it. It's
more
trying to
under
do it.
law.
It's
He
trying to do
really
it.
defied it.
But let me just understand where you stand. If a district court judge rules in a way that the president dislikes, should the president listen or should the president defy?
If a district court judge tries to usurp the authority of the chief executive of this country, he should absolutely defy it. There's a difference between broad policy decisions and discrete disputes between parties. That's the difference. If I want a policy decided, I'll take it to the
But
Supreme
what about
Court.
checks and balances?
So you're saying that a judge should decide how and when money is spent
judge is saying-
for years and not the president of the
Look,
United
Scott,
States?
let me explain
You're a governor,
little
you
bit more.
know.
Let me explain it a little bit more slowly. A judge is saying
You don't have to talk to me like that.
Congress.
Let me explain it to you a little bit more slowly. First off, Abby Phillips, why don't you go? There you go. Take that. I'm being good. I'm not saying the words out loud. Let me explain this to you a little more slowly, because I'm Abby Phillips and I went to Harvard, even though I'm oppressed. I'm so oppressed as a black woman in America, despite the fact that I got the greatest education imaginable, and I host a primetime news show on something that used to be a news network that people cared about. Nobody cares anymore because I'm an obnoxious asshole. But I'm Abby Phillips, so let me explain to you, country bumpkin over there, Scott Jennings, who continues to make me and my guests look like complete asshats all day long. But you heard them say in that segment that Joe Biden complied with the order. Well, then someone explain this tweet for me from almost 1 year ago. Starting today, the first round of folks who are enrolled in our Save Student Loan program, who have paid their student loans for 10 years and borrowed $12,000 or less, will have their debt canceled. So, was Joe Biden lying in the tweet? Or does Abby Phillip not know what the hell she's talking about? I mean, it could be 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But Joe Biden didn't seem to mind. Joe Biden didn't seem to mind whatsoever. And I got to be honest with you. If I'm being fair, if I'm being totally honest with everybody watching right now, the fact that Elon Musk, absolutely unelected, we did not elect Elon Musk. We elected Donald Trump, who appointed Elon Musk. But the more these people push back, the more they try to fight them with this lawfare, the more they try to abstain from the American people getting exactly what they voted for, the more free reign I want to give Elon Musk. The more I say, keep going, bro. Keep going. More of this. Because even if these budgets don't get cut, even if this nonsense payment goes through, even if Peru gets its $37,000 for a gay comic book, I still have no idea what that means, even if all that happens. The fact that it gets exposed, the fact that the American people know where their waste is going. As I said over the last couple of weeks, most people had never heard of USAID before this. But it turns out the more we look into it, the more it seems to be the money laundering arm for the CIA. The more we get to find out things like we heard from many federal employees that the director of FEMA just ignored federal law and sent $59 million to New York City hotels for illegal immigrants. Well, luckily, the people who have done that have now been ceremoniously fired. This from the New York Post. 4 FEMA employees have been fired for sending $59 million to New York City to house and care for illegal immigrants, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Quote, effective immediately, FEMA is terminating the employment of 4 individuals for circumventing leadership to unilaterally make egregious payments for luxury New York City apartments for migrants. The firing, first reported by Fox, includes FEMA chief financial officer, 2 program analysts, and a grant specialist. Good. Get out. You broke the law. You do not get to just say, I don't like the president, therefore I'm going to ignore his orders. Sending $60 million in taxpayer funds to New York City's luxury apartments. And as we said the other day, Elon Musk has blasted this practice. The massive payment was exposed by Doge over the course of the last several days. The money is meant for Americans' disaster relief. Instead, it is being spent on high-end hotels for illegals, Musk posted on X on Friday, and promised that Doge would be making a clawback demand to recoup these funds. As well they should be. As I said, even if they don't, we're still going to be able to get footage like this one of my buddy Nick Sorter. Shout out Nick for confronting Congresswoman Milk Dud. I'm going to try to get Nick on the show to talk about it. Confronting Congresswoman Milk Dud over the fact that she doesn't seem to mind that people in Western North Carolina have been sleeping in tents in the middle of the winter while illegal immigrants stay in luxury hotels.
Congresswoman, what do you have to say about the fact that FEMA just spent $59 million housing illegal immigrants while people in Western North Carolina lived in tents for the past 4 months? What do you have to say about that? Do you accept that? Do you accept that? Do you accept the fact that because Doge exposed that today, it sounds like you have a big problem with the fact that Doge. I'm not blocking her. I'm not blocking. Excuse me. Are you okay with that? Do you condemn the fact that Doge exposed FEMA for sending $59 million to house illegal immigrants today?
Excuse me, sir.
Do you condone that?
Excuse me, sir.
I don't know who the
I don't know who. I tell you what. If I don't know who you are. Let's go. You're in the way.
I'm not in the way.
You are in the way.
Okay, then get out of my way. Oh, what's that? What's that look? What's that look?
Look at the disdain. The disdain she has for Nick Sorter. Now, I promise you, everybody on the Hill knows exactly who Nick is because Nick is a great, great reporter. And if you're one of these liars, I would have to assume a gigantic pain in the ass. None of them can answer any of these questions. They just mosey on by as if they don't owe the American people an answer to this. It doesn't change the fact that we're going to have to get some of these answers. We're going to have to get answers as to why FEMA was funding all of this. Here was, once again, Nick Sorter being a giant pain in the ass to Liz Warren.
The shutdown.
So Senator Warren, why are you so afraid of transparency? Why are you bothered by the fact that Elon Musk is attempting to expose all of this fraudulent spending? What is that about? What is the problem here? What is the problem with transparency? Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Senator Warren, I just want to answer a question. How did you get a $12 million net worth on a $200,000 salary in Congress? How did you do that?
Excuse me.
How did you do that? You can keep trying to block my camera. We're on a public sidewalk, so get off of me. So you don't want to answer that question. What is it about Doge that's such a problem to you? You just elbowed me, Senator. I got that on camera.
Excuse us. Thank you.
Transparency is your enemy.
First off, I a couple things, Nick, and I'll send you this part of the show. Watching Nick, do not touch me. Do not touch me. It's just funny. I love when he does that stuff. I got to see Nick do it. I got to see Nick do it in real time in Chicago when I was with him for the Democratic National Committee. It was really funny, but they won't answer any of these questions. Why? Because all they've got are their singular little lines. All they've got is their constitutional crisis, and all they've got is that the sky is falling. But as I said, maybe I would have been a little bit concerned about Elon Musk and his Doge team. But now that I'm seeing all the nonsense coming out and the fact that none of these people will answer any questions. Elon, you have free reign to do whatever you need. Free reign to do whatever you need. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our dresses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over. They come in men's and women's and the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, cheap. So go to MyPillow.com on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share this video out all over the place. We are rocking. Oh, what did I do? We are rocking. We are rolling here. I don't know what the hell's going on with the commercial right now. Everybody keeps telling me it's a little glitchy. I think if you refresh your browser, it gets a little bit better. I'm not sure what's happening with that. We'll try to get that fixed as we are moving and grooving here. But there is more. There is more because we've seen over the course of the last couple of days there be a ridiculous amount of protests outside of places like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, an organization that has only been around for about 5 minutes in terms of the history of the country. It's only been around for about 5 minutes, and somehow we all managed to survive. Here with Jasmine Crockett, one of the worst people in Congress, outside of that organization, bitching and moaning, yelling and yelling.
I'm going to try my best not to preach.
Go ahead.
Preach. I just want to say thank you. Because every day that we show up in D.C., we show up for you. We know who we work for. We know that we work for the American people. And what we're not going to do is stand around while they pull this bullshit that they trying to pull right now.
Go ahead.
This is why I'm not going to be able to preach, because I probably won't be able to stop cussing.
Take your time.
But let me tell y'all something. I know some of y'all have been frustrated, and you've been saying, where are the Democrats? Where are our leaders? Well, I'm here to tell you that we ain't never left y'all. All right? We are here. We are also going to make sure that they uphold the law. We are not going to sit around while you go ahead and desecrate our Constitution, or you look at the laws that have been passed into law and say, never mind, we'll just ignore that. Instead, we are going to be in your face, we are going to be on your asses, and we are going to make sure, you understand what democracy looks like. This ain't it. So let me tell you something, Mr. Trump. You gonna learn a few lessons from us. And I'm gonna be the first one. You and your little friend off of Twitter. Y'all about to find out, all right? Now let me be clear. What Maxwell said is true. Our job is to conduct oversight. We both serve on the oversight committee. And right now, as elected leaders who tried to go in, we were told, well, hold on a second. We got to check to see if you can come in. Now, y'all know he likes to pound around with Putin, right? He's trying to turn us into Russia. But I got news for him. We, the people, will not go.
That's right.
We, the people, will. First off, lady, I find it incredibly interesting that you actually know where some of these buildings are at this point, considering you've been in D.C., and I guarantee you've never been to a single one of them. But aside from that, it's good to know, and look, I'm just going to say it. Jasmine Crockett thinks she's a thug. She thinks she's tough. She's not. You're not hard, lady. You're from Dallas, okay? Where people wear cowboy hats. You're not tough. AOC tried the same crap the other day when she freaked out on Marjorie Taylor Greene. None of you people are hard. None of you are. Not a single damn one of you. So stop pretending to be something you're not, because there's nothing on planet Earth that's more obnoxious than when somebody pretends to be tough. I find it absolutely comical. But that's what we're getting from the modern Democratic Party. And of course, she can't get through the sentence without dropping Russia, Russia, Russia. Oh, he wants to turn us into Russia. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I mean, you know, it wouldn't bother me so much, the nonsense Russia line. It probably wouldn't bother me so much if it worked. But 10 years of crying wolf, you guys think maybe you'd get a new talking point by now. But they can't seem to get it together. They can't seem to get it, and I think it's funny to watch. Because for all their flailing and all their yelling, the sky is falling, everyone. For all that, we're just pressing forward. They don't even exist. They don't even exist. And that's why the upcoming midterm elections are going to be so important. Because most presidents only have about a year to implement their policies. It's just a fact. Most of them only have about a year to implement their policies. But if we want to give Donald Trump more time, we have got to keep control of all of these houses. And I want to be clear, there are races out there that are winnable in the Senate. It's going to take a lot of work. I want to be clear, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a fight on our hands in many of these seats. Let's be clear. There's going to be primaries. It's going to be a bloodbath. But if we want these things to happen, we've got to get out and we've got to get active. Just so you guys are aware, some of the seats that may be flippable, Colorado. John Hickenlooper. He won by 3.5 points. Not impossible. Not impossible at all. In Georgia, John Ossoff. That's a Democrat seat that could be won by a Republican. Maybe this time we could get someone who knows how to read. Just saying. Roll the dice on that one. Another seat that we have to make sure we hold on to and get a new senator would be Susan Collins. In a very much toss-up seat that some people have going the Democrats' way. We got to make sure we get up there. Minnesota. Very winnable in a midterm election. New Hampshire. Janine Shaheen, very winnable. New Jersey. Hey, look, I'm calling a red New Jersey in 2025. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to boot Cory Booker's goofy ass out in 2026. New Mexico. Ben Ray Lujan only won by 1.7 points. It doesn't matter where you live. There is a winnable seat in your area moving into 25 and 26. So the question I've got for you, and then Gary Peters in Michigan. The Gary Peters seat is going to be open. He's not running for re-election. That seat is open as well. So what's that? Let's see. Realistic seats. Under 3.5 points will give the margin. 3.5 points. It's John Hickenlooper, John Ossoff, Gary Peters, Tina Smith in Minnesota, New Hampshire, Jersey, New Mexico, and Mark Warner. That's a 6-point race. That's a little tough. I just gave you 6 seats all over the country. Which one are you going to work on? Which one are you going to help in? Because that's how we take this country back. By giving Donald Trump a full 4 years to be able to implement his agenda. I can promise you, if you reach out to me, there is an activist in your area who is working to do these things. I know every one of them. Get involved. Start now. Start registering new voters now. Because if you wait, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And you know, on this show, we promote activism. There's a lot of people out there that do a lot of this. Do a lot of talking and not a lot of work. Not this audience, though. That I can guarantee you. I know this audience does a shitload of work. Giddy up. Let's go. Let's move on because there is some other stuff that I want to make sure that I get to today. Before we get to all of that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad, everything you guys need for LFA-TV, guys. Head on over to lfatv.us. Check out Jeremy's store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor, please. Thank you very much for all the people who are monthly donors to LFA-TV. That's how we keep the lights on in this place. Guys, lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. So, there's some more stuff that's going to be happening over the course of the next week, 2 weeks or so. That would be the confirmations of Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, and Bobby Kennedy. And it seems as though Tulsi Gabbard has cleared the last hurdle before her final Senate confirmation vote. Monday night, Tulsi Gabbard passed her last hurdle of the procedural vote in the Senate in order to advance the final vote this week for her confirmation as director of National Intelligence. The vote was in favor of invoking cloture, 52-46. The cloture vote on Monday evening was critical for Gabbard to move forward with the nomination where she needs 50 votes to advance. A successful cloture vote in the Senate shortens debate before the final vote to 30 hours, eliminating the possibility of a filibuster debate. So basically what ends up happening is they take a vote to end the debate. It's a procedural thing. It's nonsense. There's no reason for us to still do it, but it's incredibly important. Gabbard advanced out of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence last week, where she was able to get the key support from GOP senators like Susan Collins, Todd Young, and Tom Cotton, as well as Vice President J.D. Vance working around the clock to support the lawmakers. During her confirmation, Gabbard was questioned on blah, 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 blah. We know that. Gabbard joined the Republican Party only this year and supported Donald Trump. She was the former head of the she was the former Democrat who served in Congress for 8 years. Look, some people aren't fans of Tulsi Gabbard, but I kind of like I hate to even use the phrase because it's been so bastardized over the course of the last several years. But the actual diverse viewpoints in this administration working towards the goal. I like it. I want more of it. Let's see it. Some more stuff I like is, of course, whatever Tom Homan is doing at any given time of the day. Tom Homan was out there talking about how they are going to find the person who leaked to the LA Times, was able to leak to the to the LA Times when there was going to be an LA raid on the Tren de Aragua facilities. Here with Tom Homan.
Well, sanctuary cities, they're putting up every roadblock possible. Rather than arresting the bad guy in a county jail, it takes one agent to arrest a bad guy when they gets arrested and put in a county jail. We got to send the whole team to the neighborhood. So it's going to be, it's very difficult in sanctuary cities, but we're going to keep coming. What are we doing about sanctuary cities? I'm going to double the manpower in those sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities, if we can't get them in their homes, we'll get them in a place of employment. We're going to have large-scale work site enforcement operation. So we're going to send more resources. We're not going to stop. We're going to keep coming. We're going to keep coming with more. We're going to increase the targeting in those cities. We're going to give full steam ahead on sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities are becoming the priority. Why? Because they're protecting public safety threats and national security threats. So we're going to double manpower. We're going to double operations. We're going to double targeting. We're coming full bore, and they're not going to stop us. I'm taking this seriously. I don't sleep well at night because I'm afraid of the people that are walking the streets here every day because sanctuary cities will protect them. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Bottom line. So we're going to do everything we can to find them, regardless of what it takes. We got a strong president in the White House that's giving us all the authority we need. We're coming.
And as I said, look, the fact remains. This administration is giving us exactly what we voted for. Exactly what we voted for. So when Democrats come out with their nonsense about constitutional crises, oh no, the sky is falling, everyone. Nobody believes them. And why would we believe them? Democrats spent the last 4 years not admitting what was directly in front of their faces. Not admitting that someone like Joe Biden is basically dead. Not admitting that the border was open. Not admitting that there was a crisis, that we were being invaded. Why would I believe anything Democrats have to say now? But it's because the Democrats refuse to stop drinking their own Kool-Aid that they will never move forward. As a matter of fact, here was former Democrat, former ESPN anchor, Sage Steele on Piers Morgan. On Piers Morgan just yesterday, making that very same point.
They took down the publicly available budget.
By the way, shout out to the guy on the right with the neck beard. A real dainty kind of portly little fellow.
For USAID and then just started making shit up. So I'm all for cutting government spending, but it shouldn't be happening behind.
It's there. It's all documented. It's all transparent, and you all hit it.
No, it was transparent until it was taken off of the website, Mercedes. Like you guys took it down, and then now you're making shit up.
Oh, you think that's your conspiracy theory, really, Mike?
One of the reasons why
look, they Kamala Harris
off the website and they're claiming they spent $500 million.
Okay, let me bring in Sage. Sage.
One of the reasons why Kamala Harris / Joe Biden / the Democrats, the whole movement lost is because of the lack of transparency, Mike, and I think you know that. You couldn't even be honest about the mental acuity of the commander-in-chief. Everybody knows what was going on the entire time. I spoke to the man, interviewed him 3 months after he was inaugurated in 2021, and he couldn't finish his sentences then in the commercial break leading up to it. And this is not a personal attack. It is devastating, and you couldn't even be honest about that. The transparency is everything. One thing I think I learned about Donald Trump over the last few years is since he lost the election in 2020, what did he say on Joe Rogan? He came out and he was honest. He's like, here, yeah, 100%. 100%. That's 4 years ago. If you want to, don't distract. That's my opinion. Let me continue. He went on Joe Rogan and he talked about the fact that he learned a lot, and maybe in that first term he should have taken a little bit more time. And some of his picks weren't the best picks, and was too loyal and did things for too much, for too long, all of the things. He actually admitted it and acknowledged where mistakes had been made and how this time he had another plan if elected. And sure enough, you got to go back to 2015 and 16. The whole reason why he won is because people were sick of the norm, sick of what was coming out of Washington. To bring in somebody with no political experience and elect him as president, did you not listen to that? 4 years, we know what happened in 2020. He comes back because the Democrats did not take advantage of the position they were in and also tried. You lied. You failed. You weren't even honest about the commander-in-chief. And then he was in hiding for the rest of his term after that debacle of a debate on June 27th. I say it's okay. There's no need to fight and go back and forth. Donald Trump said it. You got to own the failings. You got to own the mistakes. How do you improve from now? You can debate till the end of time, but just like the Republicans had to look themselves in the mirror after losing, right? What are you doing? And I'm not asking just you, Mike. What are you as a group doing? Roe mentioned it, to say, why was this such I mean, did you see the map? Did you see all the red on the map? This was a domination.
I think the real
of
problem,
an election.
I mean, honestly, Sage,
what did we do wrong?
Yeah, the problem, it seems to me, is the Democrats just don't have anybody out there at all right now picking up the baton and saying,
They were shocked by it.
leave this to me. And if I was a Democrat or just a liberal in America right now, I'm watching Trump supremely confident, surrounded by a lot of smart people, doing things the way he probably wished he could have done it the first time around without the problem of a pandemic to crush him. If he gets 4 clean years at this, he could go down as one of the all-time great presidents. I wouldn't put it past him at all, including finding peace in the Middle East and Ukraine.
I wouldn't put it past him at all. Yeah. It is so, and I'm going to keep bringing this up, and I hate that I have to say it over and over and over and over again. People are so confused that Donald Trump is doing the stuff that he said he was going to do. He's the most transparent president we've ever seen. Just look at some of the policies that he'll put forth that maybe I disagree with, like the rebuilding of Gaza, right? Here's what Donald Trump does. It's very obvious. He says a thing out loud. He gauges public support on it, and then if he has the public support, he does it. And if he doesn't, then he doesn't do it. A new poll came out, said like 13% of Americans want us rebuilding Gaza. I got a feeling that's something that's probably going to drift out of the news cycle very, very shortly. Very shortly. Not our problem. Not our monkey, not our circus. That's what he's always done. Remember the H-1B visa debate that ended Vivek Ramaswamy's career in the administration? Have you heard about that since it happened? No. You know why? Because the public didn't want it. The base didn't want it. So they stopped doing it. I don't know why people find this so bemusing. Why they find it so confusing. Seems pretty obvious to me. The guy just kind of does what his base wants. And most of the politicians don't seem to understand it. Guys, we're going to move on because there's a couple other stuff I want to get to before the end of the day today. Before we keep rocking and rolling, hit the thumbs up button. Hit the like button wherever it is you are watching from. I can't pull up the live chat right now because it was messing with my system. So let's just see how many rumbles do we have. Are we going to get to 300 by the end of the show? Let me check on the phone real quick. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. Share this video out all over the place as we rock, as we roll here into the 14 minutes before the top of the hour. Make sure you guys keep it locked in here to LFA TV all day. Will Johnson's coming up next. Let's see. Are we going to get to... Are we going to... Oh, did we just hit... I think we just hit 99,800. 99,800. 99,800, so we're like 200 away. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, guys, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you guys will get notified whenever we go live every day, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's move right along here. Because there's one story that I feel like, and I feel like I'm going to keep saying this in the top end of the administration, but there's so many stories that ended up kind of dying. And one of those was that Missouri is actually beginning to sue China over their ridiculous COVID nonsense. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story and then why it matters. Why it could matter in a very, very big way. Led by Missouri's Attorney General Andrew Bailey, the bench trial for the state of Missouri versus the People's Republic of China only took about an hour at the federal courthouse in Missouri on Monday. Missouri is the first state to sue China over the COVID-19 damages to the Missouri residents. Bailey alleges that China violated at least 2 more exceptions in federal and state statutes in a lawsuit filed on January 8th. Today, we hold China into court to hold them accountable for unleashing COVID-19 upon the world. Missouri is the only state in the nation to file a suit to hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for causing and exacerbating COVID-19. Today was a great day. The judge was engaged in our arguments and asked detailed questions. we feel confident that we will be able to collect the $25 billion in damages, and if Chinese refuses to pay, we will seize Chinese assets instead. That is why this matters. I mean, look, I want to be clear. In this case, representatives for the Communist Party of China didn't even show up to the courthouse, which, not for nothing, I didn't really expect them to show up to the courthouse. But why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because if a federal judge finds that China was responsible for this, which stands to reason, perhaps that could be a way for the United States to get out of some of the the land occupied by the Communist Party of China in America. They could just seize the land, sell it off, and pay Missouri its debt. Seems pretty good to me. Seems like a great idea to me. So I'm happy that Andrew Bailey, who is probably the biggest badass when it comes to being attorney generals in the country, now that like 9 people who were the attorney general of Florida are occupying positions inside of the administration. It's good to see that Andrew Bailey is taking the mantle on this. Another story that I wanted to make sure we get to was Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace, very possibly soon to be the next governor of South Carolina. She had a very intense speech on the floor yesterday where she accused her ex-fiancé and business partners of sexual abuse against her and dozens of women in an explosive speech. This is pretty wild. We're going to show you We're going to show you exactly what happened here, but here's a little backstory on this. Nancy Mace accused her ex-fiancé and 3 business partners of committing depraved sexual crimes against herself and dozens of other women, including underage girls, in explosive remarks made to the House of Representatives on Monday. The South Carolina Republican politician said she came forward with the shocking allegations of rape, voyeurism, and other sexual abuses after uncovering a trove of more than 10,000 videos and other graphic evidence contained on the phone of her former husband-to-be, Patrick Bryant. Basically, she says that the powers that be in the state of South Carolina are protecting her former fiancé from prosecution because he's politically connected. Here it is. This is pretty wild.
True strength lies in honor, it lies in respect, and it lies in the truth. Real men are protectors, they're not predators. South Carolina's chief law enforcement officer, Attorney General Alan Wilson, stated 2 weeks ago tonight that he will let his, quote, record speak for itself. Attorney General Alan Wilson, be careful what you wish for, because your record speaks loud and clear. Women who come forward in your system are treated like criminals under your leadership, in your system, and on your watch. Attorney General Alan Wilson, you know there were deliberate delays in an investigation in what I turned over. 228 days of delay, and you know this. 228 days of delay, that's 7 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days of delay to investigate. Once again, today, you are kicking the can down the road like you always do. You are known for it. More days, more weeks, and more delay. Did the Attorney General contact the Department of Social Services when the state was told about a rape that happened in a home with children, when children were at home? No, he didn't. Did South Carolina's Attorney General have any of these predators indicted after being provided clear, cut and dry evidence, including video, photos, witnesses? No, he did not. When the attorney of a victim asked to speak to the Attorney General, Alan Wilson directly, he told the attorney not to send him any information, not to send him any documents. Did the state accept additional physical evidence from me late last year when I stumbled upon it? No, they did not. I was also told my domestic violence incident would not be investigated. In your system, Attorney General Alan Wilson, women who come forward are threatened with investigation like I was. In your system, women who come forward are threatened with arrest like I was. While the law is explicit in protecting victims, in your system, you don't follow the law. I waited 320 days before receiving a victim's rights advocate, and only because I was persistent. I was given a victim's rights advocate 10 months, 2 weeks, and 6 days later. 10 months, 10 and a half months the state waited to give me a victim's rights advocate. What is wrong with you people? So let me remind you, Mr. Attorney General, you have one job, and it is to follow the law. South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson, you're not a real man because real men protect women. I have no respect for anyone who treats women and victims the way you do. I will stand up and stand in the way of anyone who will cause harm and abuse, and you're one of them. You've turned a blind eye to women and girls for the last 15 years. I don't have the luxury of looking away. The larger emotional travesty for the victims here, which overshadows all of these evil acts, is the fact the state has refused to do its job and put these predators behind bars, in effect telling these victims they have no value. Justice delayed is justice denied. The delays have been long enough. My outrage over your broken system and my passion to call it out and fix it isn't personal. I have an ethical and a moral obligation to protect each and every one of my constituents, even if it's from someone I know personally.
Nancy Mace, look, she ain't messing around. I don't know when these people are going to get it. Nancy Mace's not to be messed with here. She is not to be messed with. Calling out her own state's attorney general for his misdeeds. I hear a lot of crap, which I'm going to call it crap, from people I care very much about Reagan's 11th commandment, never speak ill of another Republican. I don't believe in that. I think iron sharpens iron. And I think that when we call out our friends, we empower them to do better. When we call out people on our own side, it gives us the credibility to call out the other side. Because I will never be one of these partisan hacks that doesn't call out bad Republicans for being bad Republicans. And that's what gives me the credibility to call out Democrats. Because Democrats don't do that. Democrats don't call out their own side, ever. Maybe if they had, they wouldn't be in the predicament that they're in right now. Maybe if Democrats had come out and said, hey, Nancy Pelosi, maybe it's not such a great thing that you've made $200 million in the stock market over the course of your career. Maybe if you guys were just honest with yourselves, the American people would believe you when you say the sorts of things you say every single day. But no one believes you anymore. Nobody believes the media anymore. And that's why it's up to independent journalists, like I showed you before, like my buddy Nick Sorter, who actually texted me in the middle of the show. I'm going to get him on. To talk about it. They don't believe you. We knew that FEMA was transferring money to illegal immigrants. The media told us it wasn't happening. While the people of North Carolina and the people of California suffer. We knew it was happening. As a matter of fact, here was a video from last month from Savannah Hernandez in Maine of illegal immigrants getting luxury hotel rooms, luxury apartments paid for by you.
How much is rent here?
Free. 2 years.
After 2 years, we have to pay the rent.
All right, y'all, this is Savannah Hernandez in Brunswick, Maine, reporting to you from the apartments where migrants are getting their rent paid for up to 2 years. Now, I wanted to give you guys a first inside look at these units. The migrants shared with us that they come furnished, so they have a flat screen TV in there, couches, tables and chairs, a bed. We also asked them as well, hey, are you paying utilities here? They shared with us that nope, they do not have a water bill, they do not have an electricity bill.
And what about the light and the water?
Everything is good. We don't pay anything.
Now, I wanted to focus in on this area of Maine because there is a housing crisis going on currently for residents, and these buildings were initially created for Maine residents, but then it was decided that homeless migrants would be living here. Now, as an American, you can rent out one of these units, but a 1-bedroom is going to run you about $1,800, and a 2-bedroom is going to run you about $2,300. By the way, the average housing price for a house over here in Brunswick is about $480,000. So there was obviously a lot of outrage when it was first discovered that migrants were going to be housed here for free on taxpayer dollar. Now, I wanted to focus in on Brunswick as well because this is the same county that has received FEMA funding from that same program that spent almost $1 billion through the fiscal year of 2023 and 2024 on sheltering illegal immigrants throughout the United States of America. By the way, FEMA coming out and saying that they have run out of that funding.
We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This is why I wanted to come up this way. This is why I wanted to come to Brunswick, because I wanted to show you guys a comparison of how the federal government is treating American citizens versus illegal immigrants and migrants in this country. This is how migrants up in Maine, up in Brunswick are living. We also went to Bangor, we went to Lewiston, and there are African migrants who share with us that they really like it over here, that they've been treated very well. We spoke to Catholic Charities who told us that they are expecting more migrants. They're actually bringing more migrants up this way.
Yeah, so we're expecting up to 150 refugees starting yesterday until September 30th, which is the fiscal year. And then we also have walk-in clients, which will increase those numbers. Generally for refugees that we know are coming, we help them get set up with an apartment, but we're always looking for like other landlords to work with as well for apartments.
So I wanted to give you guys an idea of what was going on in Maine, the uppermost corners of the United States of America, where you wouldn't expect there to be migrants. This is a direct result of the open border, the illegal immigration crisis that has been allowed to prosper over the past 3-4 years, and it's stretching to even areas of America that you wouldn't expect.
Guys, go follow Savannah Hernandez and everybody else over at Frontlines, over at Turning Point USA. They're doing a great job. Guys, I ran over time. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Make sure you stay tuned for Will Johnson. Coming up next, right here on this network, head on over to LoudMajorityUSA.com. Pick up your We the People Are Back t-shirt. Oh, yeah, giddy up. Get your dark MAGA hat. We got them all. Guys, I'll catch you back live tomorrow. Until then, stay loud.